Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 20th of January 2025. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Rumble channel, and the Wilms Front X account. You will notice that my backdrop behind me is a little bit different. That's because I rearranged my studio so there's more room. You can see my picture of Austrian economists that I used to have in where I was living, not before, but the place before, and also my one of my bookshelves. So I couldn't fit them all in here. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, and it is 4:30 a.m. in Washington, D.C. as we count down to Donald Trump's inauguration and his return to the US presidency, which will occur just before noon. So Washington, D.C. is in what's termed Eastern Standard Time. So that will be just before 4 a.m. here in Melbourne. I don't think I'll make it to then. I would like to know people in the in the chat if they're going to be able to make it until 4 a.m. I can be a bit of a night owl when I'm watching the English Premier League, my bread and circuses. And now, Donald Trump's inauguration, it has been moved indoors because of, we're told, the extreme cold, minus 10 degrees Celsius. So normally it is held outside on the west front of the US Capitol, so where hundreds of thousands of ordinary US citizens can attend and witness the president being inaugurated on January the 20th or January 21. If January 20th falls on a Sunday, it falls on a Monday this year. So it's been moved to the United States Capitol Rotunda building. So that is that big, what do you call it? That big round top bit with the pointy bit there, which means that only 600 will be able to see the inauguration in person, and will just be the official dignitaries, but obviously be beamed out to Trump supporters who already made plans to brave the cold and attend Trump's second inauguration. So, as is per normal procedure, all of the ex-presidents and ex-vice presidents and normally the first lady or first gentleman, they attend with them, except for one. So Barack Obama is at the 44th president of the United States. He will be there, but Big Mike, Michelle Obama will not be present. Sorry, I don't know why I said Big Mike, but Michelle Obama wasn't at the funeral recently of Jimmy Carter. I know that George H.W. Bush, he died not too long ago. But it's the fact that Jimmy Carter was that they took his his body from from where he where he died in Georgia. He was in hospice care. We saw him rolled out just before the US presidential election, where he looked incapacitated but still was able to vote for Kamala Harris. So they took his body there, then to Washington DC for the public memorial, and then back to be buried in Georgia. It was sort of like the death, the way that the United States the procedure to bury a president after he's died. It's basically like the same they do for a pope or a monarch. And now Donald Trump, he didn't want to disappoint his supporters who'd traveled all the way to DC in the freezing cold. And so he held a Make America Great Again victory rally at the Capital One Arena in Washington, DC, and reaffirmed his key campaign pledges.
And as of today, TikTok is back. So, you know, I did a little TikTok thing. We have a guy, TikTok Jack. He's a young kid, like 21 years old. And we hired this guy, and I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election? And we went on TikTok, and Republicans have never won the young vote, the youth vote. They win a lot of votes, but they never won the youth vote. We won the youth vote by 36 points. So I like TikTok. I like it. I like it. And
yes, so Donald Trump, he's given TikTok a 90-day reprieve as the Restrict Act that was passed in the last term of Congress, which it was bipartisan bill passed by Democrats and Republicans and signed into law by Joe Biden, which made it law that TikTok would be banned in the United States on national security grounds because it is operated by a foreign adversary. And ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, they are subject to the People's Republic of China national security law to hand over users' data. Obviously, they manipulate the algorithm in Western countries to promote Western degeneracy. There was a lot of because TikTok went dark yesterday US time after TikTok's Supreme Court challenge failed. It was a 9-0 Supreme Court decision. So this was the message that TikTok users were greeted to yesterday. This was the first one. We regret that a US law banning TikTok will take effect on January 19th and force us to make our service temporarily unavailable. We're working to restore service in the US as soon as possible, and we appreciate your support. Stay tuned. And then the next message, it was when the ban came into effect. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. And then TikTok was back. Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US. You can continue to create, share, and discover all the things you love on TikTok. And it's none of us probably saw it 4 years ago, because Donald Trump, when he was president in 2020, proposed to ban TikTok. Now, obviously, Mike Pompeo was his Secretary of State at the time. They had unleashed COVID-19 on the world. So he was a big China hawk advising Trump, and so there was a lot of wanting to punish, sanction China for what it had done for to the world. And so that Trump first proposed that in 2020. But as he is told, his victory rally, that he likes TikTok now because it was a useful campaigning tool. And TikTok is crediting President Trump. Well, he's still not president for another just over 6 hours. So clearly, TikTok is wanting to praise President Trump, which, of course, given that TikTok for so many years was the epicenter of Western degeneracy. In fact, Libs of TikTok by Chuck Reishek was originally just reposting all of these groomer teachers, what they were posting on TikTok and reposting them on X. And so there people have been saying to Libs of TikTok, you're out of business. Maybe, well, there's Blue Sky. It's not just, it just doesn't just contain degeneracy, but also is full of pedophiles as well. But there's already multiple Libs of Blue Sky accounts. So Donald Trump, the first deal that he's done is to restore TikTok, and he's going to negotiate a US buy. There were rumors that Elon Musk could buy the US operations, but TikTok said that was fake news. So this was one of the first deals before Trump got into office. Now, I wonder if he is going to make TikTok great again. But again, who would have thought 4 years ago that TikTok would be praising Donald Trump? And who would have thought that you'd have the inventor of Diet Coke creating a commemorative Diet Coke for Trump's inauguration? All of the corporations and the celebrities, they're all sucking up to Trump now, because back in 2016, the consensus from big tech, the corporations, the media, and celebrities is that Trump fluked his way into office. He lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton, but just managed to win enough swing states. It wasn't in the script, but they thought that they had obliterated Trump, banning him from everywhere after January 6th. A lot of people are saying that this is the Star Wars trilogy, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and now we're at Return of the Jedi, because Trump not only won the Electoral College, but also the popular vote. So it is accepted by most of the elites now that he has a popular mandate, and even the Pink Pussy Hat Brigade protesting. I saw Katie Hopkins is in Washington, D.C. They're all very dejected, just they're sort of like they're going through the motions with just putting their pussy hats on every January. Dawn Browning, hello. Isn't Mr. Beast buying TikTok? I haven't heard that rumor. I saw that he got engaged, and I saw Alex Rosen, a pedo poacher, said give it 6 months before he's trans, like his ex sidekick now. And also, it's not just Trump achieving things before he assumes the presidency, but members of his cabinet. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I don't think he's even had a confirmation hearing yet in the US Senate yet to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, but it looks like all of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees are going to sail through. Pete Hegseth, defense secretary absolutely obliterated those Democrat senators. So did his attorney general nominee, Pam Bondi. Sort of makes me think that Matt Gaetz maybe should have tried to ride out all of the hyperventilating, because the US Senate Republicans, they are going to give Trump what he wants. I mean, he did arrange for Mike Johnson to be re-elected as Speaker. Again, Dealmaker there. So Robert F. Kennedy, he's already in the dying days of the Biden administration. The Food and Drug Administration has banned red food dye in it's banned in lipstick. Can't put it on your lips because it's toxic, but it could be put in food even though it was toxic. But now they've decided, the FDA, all of a sudden, to ban it in Biden's final days of the presidency. So RFK Jr. is already winning. So there was a few more pardons, particularly to black criminals by Joe Biden, including to black criminals who've already died. So Joe Biden, he'll only have a couple more hours for his aides to put pieces of paper in front of him. Remember Mike Johnson? I think it was one of the Sunday morning talk shows, said that Joe Biden didn't know that he banned the LNG explanation. It's like, no, that was just a review, and he didn't actually know that he'd signed it. So yes, basically what all of us thought about the Biden presidency, that it was his aides and staff running out, they're just putting pieces of paper in front of him. Obviously, his final presidential address was written for him, where he talked about oligarchy coming to America. The irony, the fact that the Democrats, they have let oligarchs control the United States. I mean, he gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to George Soros, well, his son Alex Soros, because George Soros is too ill. Hopefully he's close to death. So George Soros, he's the one that's funded all of these Black Lives Matter district attorneys who don't prosecute shoplifters and other violent criminals in these Democrat-ran cities. So again, the fact, Elon Musk, his influence is really sinister, but it's okay for George Soros to be in the background. Now, Donald Trump, he also reaffirmed his other campaign promises at his victory rally.
And as of today, very large arena will be very happy with my decision on the J6 hostages. Very happy. I think you'll be very, very happy.
Not just Hamas
who are keeping hostages. About 99.9% of this beautiful arena. And by the way, I want to thank the owners of this arena. I will end the war in Ukraine. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. And you have no idea how close we are.
Yes, and Donald Trump also had the Village People perform. Now, originally they weren't happy that he was using YMCA at his campaign events, and then, of course, the iconic Trump dance. But again, with Trump returning to the presidency, there's an acceptance by a lot in the entertainment industry, the Village People, they said that they performed because they wanted to help unite the country. Carrie Underwood is also going to be performing at the inaugural ball. So is Nelly, but I don't think he's going to be performing. It's getting hot in here because it's really cold in Washington, DC. It's certainly getting hot here in Melbourne because I've still got my fan on. But yes, here is I've realized that I thought I could with Restream here, that I could pause it and then come back to me and then it would resume playing at where I left it, but apparently not. But you can still hear me while I've paused it here. So I will finish this, the Trump victory summary with YMCA, but I don't think it's the Village People's greatest performance. I don't think they rehearsed that much. Now, one of the first executive orders that Donald Trump will be signing, that he said after a claimed victory on November 6th, he said promises made, promises kept, and so he has got one of his as his first executive orders that it will establish a government-wide the biological reality of two sexes and clearly defines male and female. All radical gender ideology, guidance, communications policies, and forms are removed. Agencies will cease pretending that men can be women and women can be men when enforcing laws that protect against sex discrimination. A woman means adult human female. The executive order directs government identification like passports and personnel records will reflect biological reality and not self-assessed gender identity. So Dylan Mulvaney, who got female on a passport, well, that'll revert back to male. And it's important for these transgender people to recognize when they travel overseas, if they're traveling on a passport which doesn't have their correct correct biological sex, then that can cause issues in whatever country that they're visiting, and it can also lead to some how shall I say it? Quite shocking security screenings. Hang on, it looks like this female's got a suspicious package down their pants. Could they be a underwear bomber? But Donald Trump has also said, promised that Congress will pass a bill to outlaw child gender mutilation in all 50 states, which includes puberty blockers and gender affirming care. States which now deem themselves to be trans sanctuary states. I think that the Democrats have conceded the immigration issue to Donald Trump. So they're we don't hear much about sanctuary cities, but now trans sanctuary states. And one of the designated trans sanctuary states is Minnesota. The governor, of course, Tim Walz, who was Kamala Harris's running mate. And this is the latest teen transition that occurred in Minnesota. This you may have had the misfortune of seeing this video of a woman with cerebral palsy showing off double mastectomy scars and has dyed hair. And so the Daily Mail, they decided that they would interview, now goes by the name of Micah Leroy, 19, a University of Minnesota student, had a double mastectomy last month and shared footage about the procedure. And the Daily Mail, of course, uses the preferred pronoun and his painful but swift recovery on Instagram. Those videos exploded on conservative social media on Thursday, with critics calling Micah a victim who should not have been green-lighted for a sex change because of his disability. But speaking with dailymail.com, Micah said he had a long history of gender identity issue and he's glad he has provoked a reaction because he wanted to blow up the internet. Micah's case raises tough questions about whether disabled people and minors should be allowed to take puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones and undergo sex change operations. Micah's disability, cerebral palsy, affects movement and muscle controls. So to basically explain it in simple terms, so the brain has trouble communicating with the body. So obviously the way that I speak and move my hands, my legs, it's all controlled from, like, our brain sends messages to our body. I can't move without my mind wanting my body to move. So it says here, he is able to speak and write for himself, gets straight A's at college and is involved in state politics. I am making these decisions. I'm my own legal guardian and people don't understand that. Micah can speak on his own, but was aided in this interview by his mum, Kathy Leroy, who was effectively translating his words. Yes, both of Micah's parents are left-wing activists. He says he came out at age 14 during the pandemic when his home city, Minneapolis, was convulsed by protests over the police killing of George Floyd, which Tampon Tim and his daughter helped flame. He says he always knew something was up with his gender identity, but his decision was accelerated by joining a group of mostly LGBTQ teenagers. This may raise concerns about Micah's choices, as critics have warned of a social contagion of peer pressure driving a sharp uptick in the number of trans adolescents. He charted his girl-to-boy transition on Instagram as disabled trans boy from taking cross-sex hormones, age 17, to wearing chest binders. He underwent surgery last month and said he was painful, but was mostly back to normal within a week. So this was in Minnesota, funded by the Minnesota state government, and the Daily Mail uses the term gender affirming care. His mum, Kathy, said both parents supported his decision to transition, calling it a missing piece of his identity. He studies hard and is helped by about a dozen carers and hopes to become the first transgender congressperson with cerebral palsy in the US House. Online critics say Micah was not capable of deciding to change sex because of his disability and was being coerced by others. It is true that these gender activists, that there does seem to be a lot of disabled people who do decide to transition. Now, Micah doesn't have a mental disability such as autism, because the mind is fine. But obviously, being born with a disability where you cannot speak speak clearly and need a wheelchair to move to move around, you would go through some body issues, particularly as a teenager, because, well, all throughout your life you've seen all of these people walk walk around and talk with no issue, and so of course there's going to be a lot of issues with your body. And of course, what seems to be the chilling fact here is that the decision was accelerated by joining a group of mostly LGBTQ2 teenagers, and so they can be convinced, and this is what a lot of detransitioners talk about. I watched the Daily Wires when it was for free. Its identity crisis. It mainly featured biological females who detransitioned. So a transitioned to male, had double mastectomies, because in teenage years, it's always the teenage girls who get caught up in a fad. So Wolfman's blunt razor. Hello. Hang on, I've lost my mouse here. Why are they still calling her a him? I swear that the Daily Mail does this to basically for clickbait, the trolling. I remember that when that transgender comedian in the UK, Jordan Gray, stripped off naked on Channel 4's Friday Night Lights, played the piano with the Daily Mail. Their headline was, played the piano naked with her penis. I'm sure that they loved writing that. They knew exactly what they were doing. Senator Slayer says, yes, they do tend to all look tranny as they get older. Who are you talking about there? So yeah, if Donald Trump can, because it can fix this like he is promised, because it was one of the most disturbing videos that I have seen. So Trump is going to sign that executive order on his. He can't. Obviously, he's achieved a lot before he's got to the presidency, including he is claiming credit for the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal, which it was, we weren't sure last night Australian time whether it was going ahead, deal or no deal, but then it was a done deal, and the first 3 Israeli hostages have been exchanged. Now, in terms of the deal, the terms of the deal for Israel, they're getting 33 hostages back in this first stage of the ceasefire, which lasts for 42 days. It's a really terrible deal, but they felt, Netanyahu and his government felt that they had no choice but to make this deal, because they pledged that post October 7, they were going to get back the hostages. There were over 200 that were taken. There's about 96 remaining. So the deal is for 33 hostages exchanged in this first stage for 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, including murderers and terrorists. And some of these exchanged Palestinian prisoners, part of the deal is that they can't resettle in Gaza, and so they could be resettled in, say, Australia, which I would say no way. So obviously the ceasefire as well as the hostage prisoner exchange is a temporary halt in military operations. Israel forces to partially withdraw from key areas in Gaza, and allow Palestinians to return. I am reading this off Grok 2 because I didn't realize how good that Grok would be for basically just doing research rather than trying to find all news sources. Just ask Grok, which is a X's AI. So also, there's a intensive supply of aid with 600 trucks per day entering Gaza to support civilians, including fuel or essential services like hospitals and bakery. Oh, sorry, did I say? Yeah, central hospital for hospitals and bakeries. We've seen the Israeli girls return to their families, but Hamas gave them souvenir bags, which is images of their capture. I can't imagine what it would be like to be held prisoner in those tunnels for over a year. There was many who suspected that all of the hostages were dead. And there's still 90 plus hostages still remaining, and obviously the Netanyahu government, the families have put immense pressure on the Netanyahu government to get the return of the remaining hostages. So, because that was one of the promises that his government made post October 7, and obviously the scenes we've seen out of Gaza of Hamas gloating that this is a victory for them have made many Israelis and also Westerners absolutely sick. Obviously, I want to see ideally peace in the Middle East, a two-state solution. It's an aspirational target, probably won't happen in my lifetime. I agree with President Trump that the primary purpose is need to stop the dying. And obviously, Hamas it looks for the short term to remain in power in Gaza, but Israel, we're never going to remove them from power. Just like the NATO, it was a totally fanciful goal to remove Vladimir Putin from power by funding sending arms to Ukraine. So the second stage of the ceasefire is the release of the remaining hostages, including male civilians and soldiers, in exchange for more Palestinian prisoners, full Israel withdrawal from Gaza, negotiations for a permanent peace, for a sustainable calm. And also the third stage is the Hamas releasing the remains of deceased Israeli hostages, the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Gaza, which should be funded by international aid. Probably Albanese will give some money. And the final one is the end of the war. The stage aims to conclude with a permanent ceasefire, marking the official end of hostilities and making the foundation for future governance and security arrangements of Gaza. And now, Netanyahu, if this ceasefire lasts, he is basically he's finished. There was a lot of Israelis who believed that he was prolonging the war to save his own political career, and I agree with that because, of course, there's the useful idiots, Free Palestine, holding rallies every week all around the world with the local Muslims and the local Antifa. Local Antifa, they're just useful idiots. That was just the new cause that they had decided to jump on. So the fact that and this is and the fact that in Western cities, including Melbourne, they're still vowing after the ceasefire to hold the Free Palestine rallies every Sunday just shows that it's just they want to have a rally for the current cause. They're just shouting free Palestine from the river to the sea. They're just inane slogans that Antifa, the useful idiots, repeat. They've been extremely useful idiots for Hamas, which the Gazans support. If there was an election allowed in Gaza that international observers would allow, Hamas would win. They'd probably win a hypothetical election in the West Bank, which is ruled by the Palestinian Authority, Fatah. But again, so this is why it would have been impossible to remove Hamas from power, because it's an idea, and Hamas claims that it's got so many more recruits to replace the ones that Israel has killed. But given that Hamas breached a ceasefire on October 7 to commit the October 7 atrocities, 1,200 people murdered in southern Israel, over 200 hostages. So why doesn't Israel decide to breach this ceasefire when it's finally finished? Just go and invade Gaza again. I mean, you're not going to get that support back. So why don't you do the dirty on Hamas right at the end? Benjamin Netanyahu has still said that the goal is still to remove Hamas from power. Donald Trump, when he returns to office, will remove all restrictions on on US weapons to Israel. So obviously, like I said, I'm anti-war. I don't want to see innocents on both sides be killed. But obviously the Palestinian people don't help themselves by continuing to support Hamas. There hasn't been an uprising against Hamas. Now, obviously that's one deal done to bring a temporary end to warfare in one international conflict. So Donald Trump, he did promise, once inaugurated, he'd end the war in Ukraine, do a deal within 24 hours between Putin and Zelensky, stop the dying. Now, I would give him probably top marks if he was able to fulfill that promise. But that is the conflict which could escalate to World War III. And Trump, you saw at his victory rally, he recognized that Russia's a nuclear armed state. And so it's important to bring peace and stability to Europe. And I certainly hope that that can be achieved soon. And also, Trump, his promise is to not start any new wars. And obviously, there could be a major international conflict if China, the People's Republic of China under Xi Jinping, decides to retake Taiwan. A lot of the China hawks believe that Donald Trump would allow China to retake Taiwan in exchange for selling TikTok to a United States company, for example. Of course, Xi Jinping basically sunk Donald Trump's re-election chances in 2020 by unleashing COVID on the Western world. So certainly, they claim that Donald Trump, he admires these strong men such as Putin and Xi Jinping. I would say he admires strength, and he wants to be the US strongman himself. It's like, I can rise to these people and do deals. It doesn't mean that he admires how they run their country, because certainly Donald Trump's a pledge to restore First Amendment protections. There is certainly way limited freedom of religion, no freedom of the press in the People's Republic of China, and there are not many civil liberties in Russia. Senator Slayer says, you seem affected by the vaccine. Well, my last shot was of AstraZeneca was at the end of 2021. Of course, Melbourne, the most lockdown city in the world. Dan Andrews demanded that 80% of Victorians be coerced into taking the COVID vaccine before he would open up the city again. Now when Melbourne was open again in 2022 and 2023 under his premiership, he'd released these lists of Melbourne amongst the most livable cities in the world, and say Melbourne is back. Look at these crowds at these sporting events. Melbourne is back, and now his successor, Premier Jacinta Allen, she has spruiked that according to Time Out magazine, Melbourne is the 4th best city in the world. Number 1 was Cape Town, South Africa, which raised a lot of eyebrows because it's the 16th most dangerous city in the world. I'm sure there's nice parts of Cape Town where to protect themselves against marauding black supremacist gangs. White South Africans who are still there live basically in gated communities. Number 2 is Bangkok, the capital of Thailand. Now, I've never been to Bangkok. Is it even the number 1 tourist destination in Thailand, or is that Phuket? A lot of Australians and Westerners go to Thailand for a cheaper holiday. So that's the number 2 best city in the world. I know that Thailand was very offended at Apple's recent advert, which portrayed Bangkok and Thailand as basically having derelict houses and hotels. Number 3 is New York City, where we over the Christmas New Year break, we had a twice illegal from Guatemala set a woman on the US subway alight, and nobody did anything because well, there's a disincentive to be a Daniel Penny hero. Number 4 is Melbourne, and number 5 is London, Sadiq Khan's London, where he apparently doesn't know the definition of grooming gangs. There's machete attack, knife attack, acid attacks on women. And now I saw somebody post underneath Jacinta Allen's post, and the criteria for this list actually makes sense now. The 50 best cities in the world in 2025 ranked by machete attacks. That makes sense now. So Cape Town number 1, Melbourne number 4, Sydney number 15. As I mentioned, the Daniel Andrews and now Jacinta Allen spruik the crowds at major events. So the best attended Boxing Day test at the at the MCG between Australia and India, though it did seem that the majority of the crowd at the Boxing Day test at the G were barracking for India. Though the crowds at the Australian Open tennis tournament appear to be down this year. So there's been a lot of empty seats. And now the host broadcaster in Australia is Channel 9, and its chief Melbourne sports presenter, Tony Jones, thought that it would be a great idea to decide that to insult Novak Djokovic, the 10-time Australian Open men's singles championship winner. He probably would have won 11 if he wasn't deported from Australia in January 2022 for refusing to take the vaccine. Yes, Tony Jones thought that it was acceptable to make this chant at Serbian fans outside of his sports segment at Melbourne Park on Friday evening. Now, the Channel 9 producers, they'd revved up the Serbian supporters, so it's not like that they were disrupting his broadcast. So this is what Tony Jones thought was humorous banter to say.
Back to Melbourne Park, where you can see the Novak Djokovic fans there in full voice. Yeah, the chants are quite extraordinary. Novak, he's overrated. Novak's a has-been. Novak, kick him out. Boy, I'm glad they can't hear me. Anyway, let's get on to the tennis and world number.
And he's going to have a...
Yes, Tony Jones, the Serbians right behind you, Serbian supporters right behind you might not have been able to hear you, but all the viewers watching at home and now everyone, almost everyone around the world has seen what you have said about Novak Djokovic. And you are now the most hated journalist in the world. So it's not even with Trump returning to the White House, it's not even a CNN or a BBC journalist. Well, the BBC journalists are hated because they basically, well, they cover up not just the grooming gangs in the UK, but their own grooming gangs that have preyed on children at the BBC for many years. So now, Tony Jones, he claimed, claimed that this was just banter, and I've heard other Channel 9 radio presenters, Ross Stevenson and Russell Howcroft, say, oh, when did Novak Djokovic lose his sense of humor? This is the Australian sense of humor. No, it's not. That was, you could tell that that's what Tony Jones really thought of Novak Djokovic. It was nasty, as Donald Trump would say, because kick him out, the final line, obviously, well, we could he claims that it wasn't his intention, but definitely it was a reference to Novak Djokovic being deported in 2022. And it was leaked in January 2022 what Tony Jones's colleagues over at Channel 7, Mike Amor and Rebecca Madden, thought of Novak Djokovic, called him a sneaky asshole. And remember, Tony Jones, who occasionally fills in for 3AW Mornings, said that, of course, newsreaders have opinions. And, of course, the implication was he shared that opinion. And so I certainly don't want because there's been widespread international condemnation of Tony Jones's nasty words from international tennis broadcasters. I would like to tell them this is not the Australian sense of humour. Banter doesn't include it doesn't give a free pass to just be a rude asshole to people. And I saw some people say that, well, oh, yeah, Novak Djokovic, oh, what a snowflake for taking offence. But I thought that he took the principled, correct decision here. He shouldn't cop that from the host broadcaster of the Australian Open. Channel 9, obviously, there's international partners, but Channel 9 is the Australian broadcaster. They employ Jim Courier to do the post-match interviews. Now, Novak has no issue with Jim Courier, but took a stand that he wasn't going to speak to Channel 9.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate your presence and the support, and I'll see you next round. Thank you very much.
Well, that was pretty curt from Novak. He's obviously said to Jim he doesn't want to do a post-match interview. Perhaps a little upset with the...
And so Novak Djokovic, he decided he explained that he didn't speak to Jim Courier at his post-match press conference because he wanted an apology from Tony Jones and Channel 9. But of course, it's up to the broadcasters, the legacy media, to decide to broadcast that themselves. So he decided to speak directly to his followers on X, so the whole world would know why he decided not to speak to Channel 9's Jim Courier.
Thank you all for support. Great match again against Lehečka. Was in form. Looking forward to a next matchup with the Carlos, and I just want to take a moment to reflect on what happened on the court. The reason why I did not do an interview that is a common practice after the matches for the winner to do a post-match interview. So just wanted to make sure that I clarify with everyone what happened. The reason why I chose not to do that is because a few days ago, a famous sports journalist here from Australia who works for a main broadcaster of Australian Open at Channel 9 decided to mock Serbian fans, and he made insulting and offensive comments towards me. So I was hoping he's going to apologize in public, which he hasn't done yet. Neither did the Channel 9. So that's the only reason why I didn't do the interview. It was, of course, not a great feeling for me, and it was quite awkward on the court. Jim Courier was the one that came out. I have tremendous respect for him, and I always love speaking to Jim. And I know that a lot of people wanted to hear me speak, so I apologize for everyone being on the stadium and not being able to hear me speak, and on the TV as well. But that's the main reason, and I have to stand by, my decision and hold these stands until something is done. So I leave it to Channel 9, and hopefully that situation will change for the next match. All the best.
And Tony Jones on Channel 9 today, this morning, issued one of those apologies. Sorry if you're offended, Novak. That was not my intention.
Well,
So
one disappointment that it's come to this, I've got to say, because the comments were made, if I can just give you a bit of a timeline here, the comments were made on the news on the Friday night, which I considered to be banter. I considered it to be humour, which is consistent with most things I do, whether it be the Sunday footy show, whether it be the morning show here. Having said that, I was made aware on the Saturday morning from Tennis Australia via the Djokovic camp that the Djokovic camp was not happy at all with those comments. Now, as such, I immediately contacted the Djokovic camp and issued an apology to them, so this is 48 hours ago, for any disrespect that Novak felt that I'd caused. And as I stand here now, I stand by that apology to Novak if he felt any disrespect, which quite clearly he does. Now, I should also say the disrespect was extended, I guess, in many ways to the Serbian fans. Now, as you know, being here over the 7 years, we've built up a nice rapport with the Serbian fans. They come here with the flags and they provide so much colour and so much passion, and there was banter. So I thought what I was doing was an extension of that banter. Quite clearly, that hasn't been interpreted that way. So I do feel as though I've let down the Serbian fans. Now, I'm not just saying this to try and wriggle out of trouble or anything. I genuinely feel for those fans. If I could turn back time, right, and I know we've all got PhDs in hindsight, I think the one thing where I overstepped the mark, and this is certainly what's really sort of angered Novak Djokovic in his camp, is the last comment I made in that back and forth with the crowd, kick him out. Now, I can stand here and put whatever spin I want in that, but it can only be interpreted as a throwback to the COVID years when he was kicked out. Now, that has angered Novak, which I completely understand now. So, look, it has been an unfortunate situation.
You're off on a break.
Yes,
Tony, giving birth to those twins of yours. We'll all miss you, but of course everyone in the newsroom sends much love and very best wishes.
Yes, this is
I'll miss you all
some
too.
of
Wish me
Tony
luck. I'm going
Jones'
to need it.
other
I'll tell you, the Carlton supporters are very excited.
banter on
Well,
their
they should be.
banter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like that.
Ooh.
Backyard.
Okay, good.
Chris
is going well.
You're
Went for the
funny.
kiss on the
All right,
lips.
now, Melbourne, that's what's news this Monday.
And he wasn't sacked
Enjoy
for
your
that.
evening and good night.
Night shower or two tomorrow, but there is a chance of hail in the morning. After a low of 8, we'll reach 13 degrees. So, Pete, the first day of the last month of winter.
And also,
Sounds good to me.
It does, but also it's the last time that we'll be. Enjoy your evening and good night.
Yes, so Tony Jones, he has a history, and he also decided, because there was a bit of the bravado at when American Danielle Collins beat Desatanti Ava, who's an Australian. The Australian fans booed her. She decided to give it right back to them, and at the post-match press conference said, "The haters pay my wages." That's something that I've used when back in the day I got a super chat which insulted me. I was like, "Joke's on you! You paid for that." It's like the ones who heckled Jerry Seinfeld at his Australian stand-up shows. It's like you paid more money to a Jew. So yeah, Tony Jones, he decided to have an opinion on her as well, labeling her a brat. Which now the view of Danielle Collins in her home country was like, good on her giving it to them, to that crowd there. They were badly behaved. Now, Tony Jones, he also decided back in 2023 to be all sanctimonious when interviewing Sam Newman, when Sam Newman said that we should boo the welcome to country. Tony Jones said Sam Newman crossed the line. He just decided there'd be a line somewhere. Well, I'd say that Tony Jones crossed the line. And the chant that I would have would decide to say is, Tony Jones, he's overrated. Tony Jones, he's a has-been. Tony Jones, get him off air. And he has caused a international diplomatic incident. So the Serbian Council of Australia, they have called for Tony Jones to be suspended and also dismissed. So, which sort of, I don't know if it got lost in translation, but if you're calling for somebody to be suspended and then dismissed, wouldn't you just go straight to the dismissal? So they published a letter today. Also, the Serbian embassy in Canberra is not happy as well. So it says a complaint has been lodged with the Australian Human Rights Commission in relation to Mr. Tony Jones. I don't agree with them, because I don't think we should have a human rights commission, but shows how angry they are. And Channel 9, following the comments made by Channel 9 sports commentator Tony Jones. So evidence from the crowd members suggests that Mr. Jones invited Australian Serbian fans before a live broadcast. However, the footage shows Mr. Jones mocking the Australian Serbian fans behind him through his comments and body language. For Australian Serbs, the words "kick him out" is akin to saying "kick the Serbs out of Australia," because there is strong evidence of feeling of exclusion due to media reporting about Australian Serbs in the past. Must be talking about the Yugoslav wars. The Serbian Council of Australia submitted a report to the federal government called "Experience of Vilification and Discrimination of Australian Serbs Following the Deportation of Novak Djokovic in January 2022. It shows the Australian Serb community was exposed to anti-Serb sentiment during and after Novak Djokovic's deportation. Much of this anti-Serb sentiment was fueled by negative media of Serbs more generally. Demand that Channel 9 immediately suspend Mr. Tony Jones from all sports broadcasting duties. Channel 9, in particular, all duties with Australian Open, dismissed Mr. Tony Jones from his broadcasting role. Channel 9 issue us with, and particularly the Australian Serbian community and the Australian Open's fans, with a formal apology as published on the Channel 9 website, newspaper, and TV. Yeah, I think that's going way too far. And Novak, he has accepted Tony Jones's apology. He'll speak to Jim Courier when he wins his next match. And like when he was detained and deported by Australia, he forgave, but he hasn't forgotten. But it appears to me that I didn't know that there was the Serbian Council of Australia. It seems like they're trying to get on the victimhood train that the Jewish lobby are. And there was another act of anti-Semitic arson and vandalism outside the former home of Alex Rifshin, who is the co-chief executive of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. As a regular watcher of Sky News, he's basically on every day. Sky News every hour comments about the anti-Semitism epidemic in Australia. And why doesn't Albanese do more? I heard Michael Kroger tonight on the Bolt Report say that this is an anti-Jewish government. They didn't send Penny Wong over on a diplomatic mission to Israel. They sent Mark Dreyfus, the Attorney General, since he's Jewish, but he still copped it from the Israeli government for the Albanese government voting for pro-Palestine motions at the United Nations. So his former home was in Dover Heights. So 2 cars outside were set on fire to face with anti-Semitic slurs, and the house was splashed with red paint. Now, why did they target his former home? Did the vandals illegally access an old electoral roll? Because that is highly illegal. Well, obviously, arson and a graffiti in, you would say suspected terrorism is extra illegal, but misusing the electoral roll, which is I know that it's at least given to political parties and candidates before elections, so they can send out all of their election paraphernalia. So we had, in response, we've had Chris Minns say that the New South Wales Premier, his first priority is to expand, strengthen hate speech laws in New South Wales, declaring that multiculturalism is not up for debate. Now, he said that after Abbas Israel synagogue firebombing in Melbourne late last year, which they haven't caught the perpetrators. So he's said, Chris Minns said yesterday that making New South Wales anti-vilification laws even harsher would be one of the first items on his agenda with Parliament resumes next month. And he said, so make sure that I share this so I can play the proper audio here. Yeah, so this is what Chris Minns said just yesterday. He's also previously said that we don't have a First Amendment like the United States because we, as a civil society, want to protect all of the migrant groups that we welcome.
It's one of the reasons why we have far stricter and far tougher hate speech laws in Australia than they do in the United States, and I don't make any apologies for that. The reason we do is because we want to protect what can be a very fragile community that we've built in Australia, the multicultural community of 2025, and that's not up for debate, and it's not up for a change.
I heard his Chris Minns' deputy, Penny Sharp, in I think it was a radio interview, say diversity is our strength twice. She repeated it twice. I was like, when I heard it the first time, hey, if I had a drink, I'd drink. But yeah, she said it twice. How is diversity as our strength when it's leaving us divided? So he wants to expand Section 93Z of the Crimes Act, which outlaws incitement of violence on the grounds of race, religion, gender, and sexual orientation, even though the New South Wales Law Reform Commission in November last year recommended no changes to the section following a 9-month review. So he wants to make the threshold just simple vilification. And down here in Victoria, Jacinta Allen is expanding the protected attributes under anti-vilification laws and also strengthening the penalties to 5 years in prison. Now, Matt Canavan is the first LNP politician who's actually pushed back against strengthening hate speech laws. He should speak to his leader, Peter Dutton, who has supported expanding federal hate speech laws. He said, but is there this kind of abhorrent anti-Semitic firebombing attack in the US as we have? Well, I made this point to Craig Kelly. Is the US, how come the US hasn't had a Nazi fascist takeover because it has the First Amendment? I mean, supposedly that's why we need hate speech laws, to stop Nazi fascist takeovers. If not, why do we need laws that will restrict the speech of all Australians? It would seem to make more sense to just use those laws we have to prosecute the criminals. Yes, because arson, vandalism, and terrorism is already illegal. So Peter Dutton today announced that he wants to classify the making anti-Semitic graffiti as terrorism with a mandatory minimum of 6 years in prison. And boy, do I wish that our governments and our authorities were as proactive in responding to anti-Semitic vandalism as let me say that again. I wish that authorities they had the same, they were as proactive in investigating instances of anti-Australian vandalism, because here in Melbourne, the Queen Victoria statue has been vandalized yet again, and Victoria, it was vandalized in Melbourne last year, and Victoria Police, they didn't bother to turn up in time to catch, well, that was to catch the Decapitators, the Captain Cook statue. I should remind everyone they got a call out, a police call, 000, but they failed to turn up in time. And yeah, they didn't find them or the vandals who put red paint all over Queen Victoria. So yeah, there's a special federal police task force to tackle anti-Semitic vandalism and hate speech, but not to go after anti-Australian vandalism and hate speech in the lead up to Australia Day. And tennis, speaking of Australia Day, you see I'm still promoting Australia Month. So that, of course, starts on Federation Day, January 1, and of course culminates with Australia Day. So we have Australia Day. It is in 6 days. This Sunday, it's actually going to be the men's singles tennis final. Yet Tennis Australia, they have wiggled out of recognising Australia Day. They said they were going to, the Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tilley, but he's now weaseled out. So has Cricket Australia. CEO Todd Greenwood said they were going to recognise Australia Day, but they're not going to play cricket on Australia Day now after consulting with their First Nations board. I don't know if Cricket Australia has one as well. Dawn Browning says, quadruple when you get caught subversively hate criming your own place of worship. It's a deal. I have heard some allege that they could be false flags. There's no evidence for that. Brett Norman said there wouldn't be any anti-Semitism if we stopped importing a certain demographic from a certain shit region. Well, this is where I think, like, the Jewish people, they're supposed to be smart, yet they have been the biggest promoters of mass immigration from regions who hate them. And so they're complaining about they don't feel safe in Australia. You cheered on the importation of people who hate Israel and in a lot of instances hate you as well. And I've found this graph. It's from Nationscape 2019-20. So it's probably increased since then. Withdrawal military support for Israel. So Muslim, not surprisingly, 71%. Atheist, 60%. Hindu, 59.7%, which I think would surprise a lot of people. Agnostic, 54%. Buddhist, 53.7%. So yeah, majority of Buddhists aren't keen on supporting wars for Israel. Non-white Catholics, 48.5%. Orthodox, 43%. So non-evangelical Protestant, 34%. Same as non-white evangelical, 34%. White Catholic, 33%. Mormons, 28%. White evangelicals, of course, they are the lowest at 23%. They are the biggest pro-Zionist Christian denomination. And Jews, 13%. So we're told that 5% of only 5% of Jews are not Zionists. Now, maybe that's true, but there is 8% of Zionist Jews who want them to fight their own wars. Brett Norman says, that's right, Tim. Many Jews are big refugees welcome, useful idiots. Well, some of them formed the Jewish Council of Australia, which is was formed to be critical of the Netanyahu's government in the war, and also I make the point that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. It's not, and a lot of these Jewish groups, they want anti-Zionism to be covered in the definition of anti-Semitism as well. Now, I'll promote the Patriotic Australia Day events here in Melbourne because the Allan Labor government and the City of Melbourne have basically banned all celebrations of Australia Day in the Melbourne CBD. So in 2019, Ricky T was almost lynched for holding an Australian flag outside Flinders Street Station. Senator Slayer, he was physically removed by Victoria Police for having an Australian flag. So it is still basically a occupied by the mob on Australia Day. It's not safe to be an Australian on Australia Day. And I couldn't believe that I'm not sure if any of you saw this ABC News article that it's gone viral online, and I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. So it says, if you dress in patriotic clothing on Australia Day, can venues legally restrict your entry? By Mark Gian Caspria and Peter Spyro. And and the ABC, they've also got another Australia Day a debate special with Aboriginal Australians who the one on the panel Aboriginal Australian, or I should say Australian with Aboriginal heritage, because that's how he identifies himself, Anthony Dillon. As far as I know, he's the only pro Australia Day on that panel of Aboriginals. I've seen him post on his X, change the hate, not the date. And then we had Tony Armstrong of the ABC on the project, who basically, he's a failed AFL footballer and only got a big break as a sports journalist because the ABC broadcast that Munro footy show, and so he got featured as an Aboriginal footballer. They thought he was talented, and then he became ABC News breakfast supporter. He decided to go on a rant about how Australia's still racist.
You're not seeing white kids getting jailed for stealing a bottle of water. You're trying to find a way to rehabilitate them. You're asking, what are the reasons why they ended up stealing that bottle of water? You're not just throwing the long arm of the law at them, are you? And we talk about a sense of truth-telling. We talk about, needing to accept where we've come from to be able to move forward. This country still can't accept that it's a racist country. This country still can't accept that it's built off the back of slavery. It's built off the back of dispossession. It's built off the back of rape and pillage of Indigenous people. It's really hard to watch and really hard to reconcile with, and we've just got to be better.
Now, Australia has not had Aboriginal people as slaves. I remember when they were trying to appropriate Black Lives Matter to Australia in 2020, they say, oh, there was still blackbirding, which, although Aboriginals were paid for their labour, it was basically a form of indentured servitude. They had no choice but to work. So it wasn't real like proper voluntary employment. It was blackbirding. So that was the big buzzword there. So the only people you could argue were slaves were the prisoners who were brought across and used as prison labour. No, Tony Armstrong is not a homo. He's got a girlfriend. Now, going back to this ABC article, this is the end of it here. So given the above, if you plan to show your colours this Australia Day, it might be safest to do so in a private home or public setting. Otherwise, you might run the risk of being ousted, which is just not cricket. I dare any pub in Australia, any venue, to kick someone out because, say, they're wearing an Australian flag shirt or dress like Dai Li wore in a maiden speech. Go and I dare you and see how that goes down. See how good it is for business when you're on the front page of every paper, lead story on every news bulletin, TV, radio, online, for kicking someone out who wanted to go and spend money at your business simply because they were wearing Australian flag clothing. Now, before I finish on the Australian news, so again, we have, as I mentioned, the Australian Federal Police, the state police. They've got all of their units to investigate anti-Semitic acts of terrorism, but they never made any progress in catching the Antifa. Well, they were probably members of Antifa, the left-wing terrorists who car bombed Tim Lutz's car outside his family home in Christmas in December 2023. But this week, they decided, the Victoria Police, to raid Tim Lutz's home, a member of the National Socialist Network. This was over this was the second NSN flash protest against the migrant occupation outside the Home Affairs offices in Docklands for 100 days. So Tim Lutz told the noticer that 6 armed officers searched his home at 6:20 a.m. on Thursday morning as part of an investigation into alleged offensive public conduct. Mr. Lutz, a member of the National Socialist Network, said that police seized 2 of his jackets and other items related to his NSN membership. They went into my teenage daughter's room while she was sleeping and woke up my 11-month-old daughter. The raid was in relation to a counter-protest where about 30 NSN members with a banner reading "Fuck off, we're full" turned up at a rally where so-called refugees were demanding permanent visas along with far-left activists. So the offensive public conduct, are they claiming because the sign said fuck? I mean, they hardly, I can't remember the last time they've arrested somebody in public for offensive behavior for having a fuck sign in public. Now, of course, there's a new offence of grossly offensive public behaviour, which was brought in after Richard Pussy filmed and the dying police officers while he was abusing them after a drug-affected truck driver crashed into them after they pulled Richard Pussy over for speeding in his Porsche. And notice mentions that Victoria Police documents revealed that 603 Victoria Police officers have been investigated for sexual and family violence offences since 2021, including 185 of child sex offences or sexual assault. So yes, that lowering of the bar for Victoria Police recruits that was brought into effect because so many honourable Victoria Police officers like Christy Mitchell quit because they didn't want to choke women for not wearing masks. They put pregnant women in handcuffs and pepper spray and knock over grannies. Larrikin says, I think the full was the offensive bit. Well, I've seen lots of, like, NSN didn't invent that fuck off, we're full bumper sticker. That was... so yeah, that's been a bumper sticker for many years. They just turned it into a banner. So Victoria Police, they're going to pull over every ute or van in Australia that has a fuck off, we're full bumper sticker, or what's the other one? Fit in or fuck off. All right, now let's go over to the United Kingdom, where it seems to be that there is some progress in by the Starmer government, in that they have relented and are holding a sort of inquiry into the inaction by police and local authorities after Indigenous British white girls were targeted by Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, targeted because they were white and were deemed to be not worthy of the respect they give their own women. So this was released by the Home Office, which Yvette Cooper is the Home Secretary. 10 million in funding to pursue justice for victims and survivors. National support for local inquiries. Police forces urged to review unsolved and closed cases. More victims to be able to request a review of their cases. Rapid audit of the scale of grooming gangs announced. Now, some people have been asking, is it a coincidence that as there is this re-examination and new pursuit for justice for these British Indigenous white girls who were preyed upon by these Pakistani Muslim men, is because there's this renewed focus on it? Is this why all of a sudden everywhere on X and in mainstream news media, we are being basically they maybe shoved down our throats is not the right term to use, but the OnlyFans models, or as some would put it, OnlyFans prostitutes, whores, Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, they have been in basically a competition with each other to see who can break the world record for sleeping with 1,000 men in one day. And now, I haven't watched any of their explicit content, but I've seen some stills and footage of the men entering their premises, and they seem to be majority brown. Many of them, I would say, about maybe 20% are black. And then there's a small minority who look like they could be white, but they just could be light-skinned Arabs or other people. And I haven't commented about them in depth recently, but I will now, because the reason why I have decided to mention them is because you have these conservative simps, as Hannah Pearl Davis calls them, and then the TERFs, claiming that they're really victims, that Julie Bindel, who's a TERF, wrote in The Spectator on December the 11th last year, shame on the men exploiting Lily Phillips. This is after she cried after she did her 100 men in 24 hours. I haven't read that article because I don't want to give Julie Bindel the clicks. I mean, of course, given that she is a really ugly lesbian, well, she wouldn't know anything about having sex with multiple men in a day. So Lily Phillips was, this film was made by Josh Peters. Now, I can't recall anyone saying he's exploiting Lily Phillips to make a viral documentary. Now, Josh Peters, he is, to refresh your memory, he is the, well, you would call him prank documentary maker, though his pranks are pretty cruel. He decided to give Katie Hopkins the award, which had the acronym CUNT back at the beginning of 2020. Again, the joke was on him because paid for Katie Hopkins to go to Prague to receive the award, campaigned to unify the nation trophy. And I interviewed Katie Hopkins about this in 2020. And we made the point that, wonder why Josh Peters decided to flee South Africa. And, he decided to that it was you were worthy of mocking for not wanting dangerous migrants to come into your country. Yet he has fled South Africa because there is another race, members of another race in that country who want to kill whites. So yes, he's an absolute scumbag, Josh Peters, but I digress here. But Lily Phillips, she was crying because she couldn't give her male fans who had volunteered and supported her enough time. She couldn't give them the full 5 minutes. So that's what she was upset about, that she hadn't literally pleasured her fans like she wanted to. But she decided that she would double down and go for the 1,000 men in 24 hours, though allegedly she has been beaten to it by Bonnie Blue, who claims that she has slept with 1,057 men in 12 hours.
This is what my face looks like after taking 1,000 men less than 12 hours ago. I told you girls, taking fluids for moisturizer was good for your skin. The big 1,000 was completely done. So it started off, I'll give you a bit of an overview. After to start with, it was just like, the room was absolutely full. Then we did groups of 5, like one after the other of 5s. I wanted to give people more time, so then it went down to like one-on-ones, didn't it? So like one person would watch whilst I was with somebody, and then it would literally just be like a rotating circle like that.
I just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the
Yeah, so this next one here is when Bonnie Blue decided to proposition this black Five Guys employee. And you wonder whether she thought he was going to be easy because he's black, and there's many blacks who come to volunteer to be part of her sex records. But as many of you have probably seen this, she maybe got a reminder that there's a lot of blacks in Britain who are devout Christians.
I didn't know if it was like a special room or you can take me out back.
No, I don't think that's happening.
What about after your shift? I mean, I'd want to give you, a good rating.
I'm a Christian man and I'm saving myself marriage.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm doing it right now. I can hand you a menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
Trent University, as I said, I would, to pleasure as many uni students in 2 weeks. I want to sleep with 130 barely legal 18-year-olds. And you can go for as many rounds as you want. You can finish wherever you want. And the most I want to take in one night is 25, but I'll let you into a little secret. I did 30 on the first day alone. So come and get me on my knees and let me celebrate you getting into uni, boys.
Doing a can walk.
And this is Lily Phillips deciding to walk onto the street with
There's like cars
even on
going
her
past.
face.
I don't think anyone will notice. I think it looks like a bit like a face mask. Right, we're crossing. Cross.
And both Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips have their mother as their manager. They both have supportive parents. Now, Lily Phillips, she's about 23. Bonnie Blue is about 25. But yeah, she does look 40. It seems that her constant sex is aging her rapidly. So you sort of wonder what she'll look like at 40. Would she still be able to reinvent herself as a MILF? Now, there were people warning Lily Phillips against sleeping with 1,000 men in one day. Obviously now Bonnie Blue has allegedly beaten her to it. Was there somebody, obviously it was all filmed, but was there somebody from, I don't know, Guinness Book of Records there to witness it? Because what it sounded like that she was doing, and now I'm getting into a really degenerate discussion here. Like, does it say having 5-minute once, does it count? Because obviously, well, when a male has, well, there's no way that a male could do that many women in 24 hours unless he was on Viagra. But obviously, the sign that a man has had sex is that he ejaculates the semen, which Lily Phillips had on her face. But of course, if the roles were reversed, if a young man went into 5 gals and asked, how do I get the 5 gals? Or went to a union saying, I'm going to sleep with these barely legal teen girls, they would be arrested probably. Now, I think maybe Five Guys, it's an American franchise, should probably change its name now, given how dirty the name has become because of our sexualized culture. So I remember Dave Rubin made a joke about after Trump's shift at McDonald's, she did Five Guys, but not at the restaurant. It's like a fast food restaurant. It's actually founded by 5 sons, but decided to call it Five Guys. So yes, so Lily Phillips, she has decided that, well, she doesn't want to be beaten by Bonnie Blue. So she is going for the backdoor challenge. So she said, I'm having sex with as many guys as possible in my back door. Will you be there? In what looks to be a dangerous game of one-upsmanship, the 2 adult content creators are continuing to set themselves so-called sex challenges even more than the last. Now, both of them are earning over £500,000 per month from OnlyFans, which is over $1 million Australian. And I remember Mark Collette did a video a couple of years back now about about young women being attracted to OnlyFans simply for the money. And of course, in this age of the internet porn market is absolutely saturated. So the average woman who creates an OnlyFans to supplement income will get less than £100. So they are really leading their young ilk into, because I mean, a lot of porn is fake, and I guess and the same as a lot of social media influencers, like everyone's faking it. And obviously, you're throwing insight into how Lily Phillips felt after one of them. You don't, yeah. Obviously, they do it because, like, well, for a multitude of reasons, because they like it, the money, the fame, and the power, because they love the fact that all these men flock to them. And certainly it's going to be luring a lot of women into a false illusion about what a career in the adult entertainment industry looks like. I didn't show the clip of Bonnie Blue. She showed some of the bruises that she got. One of the men bit her on the thigh. So Dawn Browning says, as Devon Stack said, get in the pit. Exactly. And now, as I mentioned, the trash UK mainstream media, even BBC, even GB News, they have promoted Bonnie Blue. Now, the BBC, I was going to mention, if things couldn't get any worse in the UK, BBC Radio Extra One decided that they would feature a rap musician who is a convicted murderer who released a rap song after he was released from prison, glorifying murder. So the man who served only 14 years of a life sentence for the murder of schoolboy Jimmy Mezen has been recalled to prison for breaching his license condition. So Jake Faree, who went by the drill rapper name 10, who conceals his identity with a balaclava, was played on BBC One Extra. So BBC is not just a haven for pedophiles now, but haven for murderers as well. Prime Minister Keir Starmer thinks BBC bosses should answer questions urgently. A probation service spokesman said, our thoughts with Jimmy Mezen's family, who deserve better than to see their son's murder, shamefully boasting about his violent crime. His son, who was 16 years old, bled to death after he threw an oven dish at him in South London Bakery in 2008. Jimmy's father, Barry Thompson, says, we're not gloating or anything. In a way, it's quite sad. Faree was 19. He was given a life sentence in 2009 with a minimum term of 19 years and was released on license in June 2023. So was that one of, well, he wasn't the Prime Minister at the time, Keir Starmer, but was this one of the early releases? So again, releasing murderers out of prison early, convicted paedophiles, as they say in the UK, or nonces, as they also say as well. They don't even, many of them don't even get sent to prison. But of course, those who said hurty words on social media during the UK riots after 3 little girls were stabbed by allegedly by Axel Ruber-Cabana is there, of course, and of course it was kept from the public that he was a Muslim convert, wasn't the Welsh choir boy. Now, of course, before the Southport stabbing, political prisoners, the original political prisoners were Tommy Robinson, then it was Sam Malaya. He is now released, thankfully. Reverend James Costello still in prison for publishing his pro-white creativity religion on his website. Remember, all Sam Malaya did was put some pro-white stickers up, which weren't unlawful, but they decided to lock him up anyway. Brett Norman says, not alleged anymore. He's pled no contest. Yes, Tommy Robinson is in solitary confinement. Now, currently also in prison, but will be released in June this year. Another political prisoner, Alex Belfield, the voice of reason, who was got a 5.5-year sentence for stalking Jeremy Vine, the BBC presenter and the biggest menace on the roads of London, riding his bicycle with his camera, getting into disputes with motorists because he decides to speed up when a motorist is backing out. In fact, got a woman sent to jail for abusing him when she got out of his car because she was already on probation. And he got Alex Belfield sent to jail for 5.5 years for allegedly stalking him and a few other people because he made videos criticizing Jeremy Vine's conduct at the BBC. I looked at some of the content of the other people Alex Belfield is alleged to have stalked, and they're all pathetic people, F-list celebrities. Alex Belfield is easily one of the funniest people in Britain. I mean, the voice of reason, he did about 4 videos per day, just speak off the cuff, extremely talented, very humorous. So I'll put this video that, well, it's obviously not him because he is still in prison, but we are hearing from Alex Belfield, AI, artificial intelligence. So he's probably dictated this and sent it to his producer, Tarquin, who I think is a fictional person anyway. So it's clearly somebody, because Alex Belfield, as AI Alex says, he gets bucket loads of fan mail every day in prison that has kept him going. Goes for 49 minutes, AI Alex, interviewed by Tarquin. He admits that he was in a dark place, but he doesn't want to give them the satisfaction. And he says that he's going to be returning immediately after his release for a brand new tour. Immediately, the Convicted Talker, which is a hilarious title. So you can, the pop-up, subscribe to Alex Belfield's mailing list to win 2 tickets and a hotel stay for a night of the highly anticipated comeback show. He's written 6 books while he's in prison, and he'll also, the winner will get a 1-year free Voice of Reason membership. So it's the Panto Winter Tour. So the first book that is going to be released is Locked Down and Locked Up. And he's also going to be, in 2026, there's going to be a return of his joint tour with Katie Hopkins, a couple of gobshites live. And Katie Hopkins is easily the funniest woman in Britain. As I mentioned before, interviewed Katie Hopkins. I tried to tee up an interview with Alex Belfield back in 2021, but it didn't quite work out. I'd certainly love to interview him once he gets out. I'm so glad that he's not choosing to lie low. He's coming back, and he's coming back more determined than ever. He didn't mention Jeremy Vine in the video, but I will certainly keep mentioning that Jeremy Vine is an absolute scumbag. He's protected by the BBC, given their primetime Radio 2. Remember, Joey Barton had to pay him, former a British footballer, for starting that hashtag, which I can't mention now. So, well, he changed the hashtag to Bike Weirdo, which what Jeremy Vine is. So yeah, and he also has a call-in show on Channel 5 on Vine, and proposed as a discussion point, shut Twitter down since China does it. So yeah, I'm so glad that Jeremy Vine hasn't broken him, even though he was able to use his powerful connections to have, even though Alex Belfield, you never went to Jeremy Vine's house. And also there's a whole bunch of people who just naturally hate Jeremy Vine. Alex Belfield didn't incite it. Obviously a lot of Jeremy Vine haters went to view Alex's videos, but they already hated Jeremy Vine beforehand. Dawn says, Alex is going to be inundated. Katie is his sister from another mother. He jokes in at that one of the worst things about pleasuring His Majesty's incarcerated was the conjugal visits from Katie Hopkins, poor lovely Mark. Oh yeah. Now that's what you call banter, and she's done it back to him, saying, "Oh, the ginger twat got himself incarcerated, so he didn't have to perform on stage with me." That's Tony Jones is banter, because they both of them love each other. Like, it's not mean spirited. I was so like, oh my god, when they announced that they were touring. All right, I've clearly gone over time now, so I best wrap it up. Now, of course, we're nearing the end. The Australia Day marks the end of voting for the 2024 Unshackler Awards. So our senior editor, Damien Ferry, will announce the winner. We've still just got one more category to announce. So we published last night the Degenerate of the Year Award, which Lily Phillips is a nominee. So P. Diddy out in front, not surprisingly, 30% of the vote, with Dylan Mulvaney, whose passport will go back to reading mail, and just in around about 5 hours' time. So, and also the International Media Personality Award just published now. So Tucker Carlson, not surprisingly, way out in front as well. Now, remember, if you want to support the work of the Unshackled, over at theunshackled.net, which hosts our articles as well as our Unshackler Awards, you can take out a premium membership. So you can take it out for bronze $5 per month, $50 per year, silver $10 per month, yearly $100 per year, gold $25 per month, $250 per year, platinum $50 per month, platinum $500 per year. And of course, you can take out a membership or a supporters membership over on the Unshackled Substack, which is where I put email alerts for upcoming Unshackled productions, and also host our Unshackled Productions archive now. Now, remember to make sure, whichever Unshackled production you're watching, whether it's Tim's News Explosion or Wilms Front, I haven't got a guest locked in as of yet for this Thursday, but I'll let you know if I do. My lips are dry here. Been talking too much. So if there is a Wilms Front, it'll be on 7 p.m. Melbourne time on Thursdays. So I had Craig Kelly on last week. He'll be running for the Libertarian Party in New South Wales Senate this federal election. So make sure to the Wilms Front channels, you subscribe, click the bell for notifications, give a comment, like, thumbs up. There'll be a fresh report from Tiger Mountain with Richard Goldstein. I'm not quite sure how to help you with that. What the hell? Oh yeah, I just got an Alexa. Shut up, Alexa. Okay, I think she listened there. Now, there'll be a fresh report from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft at the end of the week. And then on the patriotic events on Australia Day that I mentioned before. So the National Workers Alliance event, that's been changed to 12 p.m, which speeches at 12:30 outside the Rod Laver Arena. And then there is Monica Schmidt has organised the Celebrate Australia Day rally, assembly in Port Melbourne at 1 p.m, and a 1:30 p.m. Parade in St Kilda, the Catani Gardens. And there is also going to be a barbecue in Melbourne, in Melbourne Park, hosted by the British Australian community. And there'll also be a Trad Tasman talk. We've locked in a date on the 31st of January with myself and Dewey de Boer, which will be 6 p.m. Melbourne time, Friday. I think Reality Check Radio, which we're both Dewey de Boer as a host of the dialogue. I'm a contributor to Paul Brennan's breakfast program on Tuesday morning with the Wilms Report. So we'll have a one-off Trad Tasman talk show, 6 p.m. Friday, January 31st. All right, I better sign off now. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I will see you later in the week. Good night, everybody.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's